A centuries-old ritual is taking place. Religious sisters are meeting for daily prayer. They fit the image most of us still have of Roman Catholic nuns, wearing long habits, living and praying together in their convent, vowing total obedience to the Pope and their superior. Yet barely 7% of American nuns still fit this profile. A revolution has occurred. In the same city, another ancient ritual is taking place.
Sister Catherine, sisters, I ask to be professed as a Sister of Mercy.
Sister Kathy Aller is taking vows to be a nun, but the old images no longer fit for sisters like these. They're not required to wear habits, and Sister Kathy can choose where she lives and works. But these are just the visible signs of a far-reaching transformation that began for nuns in 1965 with the Second Vatican Council, commonly known as Vatican II.
Considered one of the most important councils in Catholic Church history, Vatican II saw 2,400 bishops and other prelates revise many aspects of church activity.
Those revisions radically altered the lives of thousands of nuns. They were instructed by the Pope and bishops to rethink their mission in the modern world, and they obeyed. But their new understandings are bringing conflict with the very church that told them to change, a church based in Rome and ruled by men.
And when I think of the institution of Catholic Church today, I think of a church that is patriarchal, does not welcome women, that is sexist and racist.
We relate to the male hierarchy and other members of the church as adults, and not as, in a pre-Vatican II mode, as children relating to their father.
You're about to meet 5 nuns of the 80s. Their stories will reveal how dramatically life has changed for thousands of religious sisters in the last 2 decades. And you'll see the struggle for equality some of them are waging within the patriarchy of the Catholic Church. You will see how American nuns are changing habits.
All right, sisters, let's hear everybody for Happy Birthday to you, Happy Birthday to you.
The Sisters of Mercy are throwing a birthday party for their retired members.
Happy birthday to you. Blow out the candle, girls. Okay, let's blow. 1, 2, 3.
The median age for all American sisters is now close to 65, and membership has dropped 40% in the last 20 years. New recruits have not been easy to find. That's why Sister Kathy Aller is unusual. At 34, she just made vows into the largest order of nuns in the country. But her life is radically different from the one these elderly sisters had when they joined.
Before Vatican II, sisters had a lot less freedom than they have now. And so my life in comparison to theirs not only physically looks a lot different because of the change of habit and the change of living situation, even the change of working situation, but in terms of our routine and our own ability to make decisions regarding our lives, it's immensely different.
Sister Kathy chose to move into this house with 6 other Mercy sisters. The convent is no longer the only housing option for nuns, and as many as 12,000 actually rent their living space. Before Vatican II, nuns typically worked together. Today, Sister Kathy's job is independent of her community. She does administrative work at an eye clinic while completing her PhD. But the most visible change for nuns since Vatican II is in their dress. About 75,000, or 60% of American sisters, are no longer required to wear a habit.
I am currently working at the University of Illinois, and it is not at all a Catholic setting. And it would be very counterproductive to wear a habit that would set me apart.
But some think changes like these violate the intentions of Vatican II. Father James Downey is head of the Institute on Religious Life. Founded in 1974, the Institute is a national organization based in Chicago. Its purpose? To explain the official church position on how religious groups should live. He says a nun who is faithful to that position will do the traditional work of her order, will live in a convent, and will wear a habit.
It's in the law of the church, Canon 669. So her failure to wear a habit is a public disobedience to a law of the church.
The laws from Rome say that the habit should be determined by the congregation, and our congregation has determined that we may wear the habit or the pin according to our understanding of appropriate circumstances. And so that's what we do, and we feel that that is in obedience to the law as it is written.
The new places where nuns live and work and how they dress are causing friction with officials in Rome. Yet those are just the outward signs of Vatican II's impact. Sister Kathy's vows reflect a new way of thinking that touches the very core of religious life. And that change is another point of dispute.
I, Kathleen Aller, vow to live a life of celibacy, poverty, obedience, and
After
service
study
of the
and
poor.
prayer, Sister Kathy wrote her own vows. She still understands obedience as following the will of God, but not simply as handed down from a superior. Yet the Vatican is pressuring sisters to view total obedience to their superiors as essential.
Renouncing your own will, that's the essence. And to follow the directives of one whom we believe God has appointed to direct him, see?
I don't know of any precedent in the gospel of Jesus Christ where he accepted that someone else was appointed to tell him what God, his Father, wanted from him. He didn't operate that way, and I don't think that he wants us to operate that way.
Sister Kathy enters religious life with a new way of thinking, but Vatican II's impact is just as dramatic on nuns who made their vows decades ago. Good Counsel High School on Chicago's northwest side is run by the Felician Sisters. The principal is Sister Fran Wilkowski. With a modified habit, her outward appearances have changed somewhat since Vatican II, but her views have shifted drastically.
At one time, I felt when I was younger that there was somebody authorized to tell me what to do, and I obeyed whatever they told me what to do. Today, I don't believe that at all.
In 1951, Sister Fran joined the Felician Sisters. Although it's one of the more traditional orders, the liberating impact of Vatican II is still evident. Like Sister Kathy, Sister Fran no longer believes obedience means giving up her own will.
It is my decision to do those things that I ought to do, and somebody telling me to do them or not telling me to do them doesn't make any difference. My vows still are inherently there.
Even though Sister Fran's view of obedience differs from the Vatican's, her lifestyle fits Father Downey's profile of a faithful nun. She does the work of her community, education. She lives in a convent, and she wears a habit. But Sister Fran doesn't see all that as essential to religious life.
The fact that we wear a habit doesn't make us more a sister than someone else who doesn't wear a habit. It doesn't depend upon the icing on the cake or the, the outside appearances. It has to go deeper than that, and a lot of people don't look at the depth. They only look at the outward appearances.
That kind of thinking disturbs Sister Fran, but she sees other concerns for religious women, concerns that strike at the heart of church structure.
Our rules are approved by males in the church, and sometimes that's a source of embitterment to a lot of people. I feel that women need to have a greater say in the kind of life they live, and it should not be dominated by men.
Sister Fran has internalized a freer way of thinking since Vatican II. But some nuns, like Sister Marjorie Tuitt, are openly challenging Rome over issues like abortion. Confronting church authority is something nuns just didn't do when she was growing up.
I think you have to understand that you're talking to a cultural Catholic who was born into a Roman Catholic family, whose mother was a convert from Lutheranism to Roman Catholicism, whose dad was Irish working class.
Margie was their only child. In 1942, at 16, she entered the Dominican convent.
For a young Catholic girl at that time, it was very appealing. And we were all conditioned into saving our souls and doing this wonderful thing for Jesus.
The young Sister Marge was sent to teach in Harlem.
I think I look back on some of it as hard as we tried in those days. but with a sense of shame, because I taught black children about a white God, the God I knew from my parents. My early understanding of God was that God was white, male, Irish, and certainly a Roman Catholic.
Drawn to the work of Martin Luther King, Sister Marge was caught up in the civil rights movement. At the same time, Vatican II was reforming the Catholic Church.
What Vatican II did for many of us, religious congregations and individuals, it moved us to move out to mission rather than to retreat, in old language, behind the convent walls.
From civil rights work in the 60s to speeches at peace gatherings like this one, Sister Marge had redefined her role and is now an outspoken political activist, but not without consequences. On October 7th, in the heat of the 1984 presidential campaign, this ad appeared in the Sunday New York Times, stating, "A diversity of opinions regarding abortion exists among committed Catholics." 97 people signed this ad, including 24 nuns. One of them was Sister Marjorie Tuitt.
I've spent my life working on issues of justice, for economic justice for women, for equal rights for women. Out of that context, I had to sign that ad.
At issue was the pro-choice position taken by vice presidential candidate Geraldine Ferraro. Her stand brought sharp criticism from New York's Archbishop O'Connor, and that, in turn, prompted the ad.
His critique was on the front page of the New York Times. Where better to respond? Where else better to do it than the New York Times?
Within 2 months, Rome's Cardinal Archbishop Hamer struck back. As head of the Vatican Office for Religious Men and Women, he sent this letter to the superiors of those who signed the ad. The signatories were to retract or face an explicit threat of dismissal. The nuns refused. More than a year later, it's still a stalemate. But the Vatican response has left its mark.
It's not only an outrage, it's a tragedy and deep sadness.
It was necessary that they retract this statement because it was a course of scandal and confusion among the faithful.
I need to say that the ad was not meant to go against the official teaching of the Church. The ad was a call to dialogue, acknowledging that there was more than one position in the Catholic community, which is proved statistically and every other way.
It's the Church who has to explain the law of God. Private individuals are not assigned to do that, only the Church. So what conversation or dialogue is possible, I don't know.
Laws governing women's lives are made by males, a male hierarchy in isolation of the woman's experience. That's why we're asking to dialogue.
Sister Marge's rebellion has brought heavy reprisals because her community answers to the Vatican. Some religious orders are simply ignoring Rome's authority.
There is often the idea that obedience is some sort of blind adherence to anything that the Pope might say. I think that in view of looking at things like World War II and the Nazis and so on, that no one could speak of mature human conscience and think that any of us could blindly adhere to someone else's authority as if we were puppets or robots.
At Cook County Women's Correctional Center, Sister Deborah Barrett arrives each week to teach a law class to the inmates. She's a lawyer and a new breed of nun. She belongs to Sisters for Christian Community. Founded in 1975, it's gaining members at up to 10 times the rate of those orders with traditional ties to the Vatican. The sisters make vows, but they are not recognized by the official Catholic Church. Why? They refuse to answer to Rome.
I really wanted to be part of a community that's actually pioneering and exploring alternative options right now. Why can't we be a little more freeform, a little more self-governing, making more decisions on our own without an interference from Rome?